People noticed something strange in the river. Adu, curious, threw a can into the water, and an unknown creature instantly swallowed. The crowd reacted with amusement, believing it was just a dolphin playing. They even started throwing their own food and drinks into the river. Little did they know, their curiosity would soon lead to a deadly consequence. The very next moment, Adu spotted it in the distance. A giant monster, resembling both a fish and a lizard, hurtling towards them. Panic erupted as people scrambled to escape, but it was too late. Many were thrown dozens of meters through the air. The monster then charged into the crowded square, its demeanor suggesting it had found abundant prey. Amidst the chaos, a girl, engrossed in an old man's movie story on the grass, was oblivious to the imminent danger. By the time she reacted, it was already 11 o'clock, and the square was filled with fear and sorrow. A group of people, fighting for their lives, took refuge in an assembly room. Only one woman remained outside. Just before the monster lunged, she jumped off the stairs, saving herself. However, the assembly room became a scene of misery as the monster burst in, relentlessly hunting its trapped victims. The back door of the room was locked, leaving the people inside screaming in despair. That's when the woman realized her son was still inside and desperately pleaded with Adao for help. Adu, along with a foreigner, managed to pry open the door, rescuing those trapped. Enraged, the foreigner hurled a brick at the monster, but it had no effect. So, with Adao and two others, they moved a large stone and finally managed to strike the monster. Feeling attacked, the monster charged at them. Adu quickly moved towards a car, but the foreigner wasn't as fortunate. The monster stepped directly on him. Overwhelmed, Adu, as if with newfound strength, lifted another stone and smashed the monster's head again. The creature screamed in pain and began to chase Adu. In a desperate dash, Adao grabbed his daughter's hand and pulled her along. They stumbled and fell, but quickly got back up. After running some distance, Adao realized something was terribly wrong. He was holding someone else's daughter. Adao stood frozen, watching helplessly as his own daughter was caught by the monster. He saw the monster jump into the Han River, cross it with his daughter, and then slowly sink into the water, disappearing without a trace. Only Adao's despairing father was left behind. The search for Hyunseo, Adu, still consumed by the grief of losing his daughter, soon received news that time was running out. The Korean military took control of the area, designating the waters around the Han River as controlled zones. That night, all the affected families gathered, clutching photos of their lost loved ones. The second uncle, aunt, and grandfather's family were particularly overcome with sadness. As the situation worsened, everyone present at the river incident was separated. It turned out this monster wasn't just a simple attacker. An American officer who had been helping Adao earlier had become infected with an unknown, terrible disease after battling the creature. This was why Adao's family was isolated. One night, feeling hungry, Adao secretly found and hid a can of food. Suddenly, his phone rang. Despite the noise on the other end, Adu recognized his daughter, Hyunseo's voice. Hyunseo told him her phone was dying and that she was trapped in a very deep sewer. Adu anxiously asked for her exact location before the phone went silent. Overjoyed that his daughter was still alive, Adu immediately called the police for help. However, the police dismissed him, thinking he was talking nonsense. More ironically, when his uncle tried to explain that they could locate her through call records, the police responded dismissively. That's not how you say it in everyday English. Do you know how complicated that is? Did you just say everyday English? With no help from the police, they decided to find and rescue Hyunseo on their own. But at the beginning of their operation, Adu's yellow hair exposed their presence. Seeing their escape plan discovered, they hurriedly ran, then got into a prearranged car and drove away. Lao Piao, the father, used all his savings to buy old equipment and 3 guns from the black market. Soon, their family of 4 was reported online. Even so, it didn't stop them. Under skillful acting, they disguised themselves as disinfection workers, successfully fooling everyone. Following Hyunseo's description of a very high and deep sewer, the family began a thorough search. After a long time with no progress, tired, cold, and hungry, they decided to return to their wheat cloth home to eat and regain energy before continuing their search. At this point, the family started to imagine eating with Hyunseo, habitually replacing her position at the table, creating a happy and warm scene. In stark contrast, Hyunseo was in a dark, humid, cold, and hungry environment, next to an ice-cold body. Hyunseo imagined how wonderful it would be to be with her family. Suddenly, she heard the monster returning to its nest, so she quickly pretended to be lying on the ground, motionless. Fortunately, the monster didn't notice her. Then, the monster settled back into its nest. Luckily, a little boy had also survived this time. Hyun-seo tried to check on the boy's injury, but the monster heard the sound and turned back. Hyun-seo, still clever, called the police again and ensured the boy remained on the ground. Could she trick the monster again? The final confrontation. A man discovered something strange. A monster was despising him through a doorway. Cautiously, Lao Piao picked up his gun and aimed at the monster through the door. As the gun fired, the monster reacted as if the wind was rushing at them. The angry monster vented its rage by directly attacking Lao Piao's family's wheat cloth home, tearing at its top. Lao Piao found another chance to fire, and this time, he defeated the monster. When Lao Piao and his family emerged, they saw the monster lying in front of them. The second son immediately rushed towards it, but unexpectedly, the monster got up and ran away, having only pretended to be defeated. The family then began to chase the monster, determined to avenge themselves. The gunshots also alerted the patrol guards, who were pursuing them. The monster dove into the water as an arrow directly entered it. As a dark shadow approached them, Lao Piao told the children to go ahead, seizing the opportunity to fight the monster. He took a bullet from the monster, still determined to fight to the death. But then, the monster rushed the case, and Lao Piao, checking his gun, found there was no bullet in the trigger. He had fired 4 bullets, but was 1 short. Facing this reality, Lao Piao waved to the children, telling them to leave. The responsibility of finding their granddaughter now fell to them. Then, the monster struck him, sending him to the ground. The children watched as their father was again caught by the monster and dragged to the bottom of the river, disappearing. Seeing his father's painful death, Adu was devastated, but the patrol guards were about to arrive. Adu told his brother and sister to leave and find Hyun-seo. He picked up a piece of newspaper and covered his father's face. He wanted to leave, but couldn't bear to abandon his father. That's how Adu was caught. Nanyi and Nanju, however, managed to escape. Nanyi remembered his college classmate, an employee at a communication company, hoping to locate Hyun-seo with his help. His classmate promised to assist. That night, the two snuck into the company. However, the search required the team leader's authorization password. When the classmate went to the team leader's office, they found police ambushed inside. It turned out the classmate had betrayed Nanyi for reward money. Just as Nanyi felt betrayed, he spotted a password. He tried his luck, and incredibly, he successfully entered and found Hyun-seo's location. Before he could celebrate, the police closed in. Nanyi calmly confirmed Hyun-seo's location, then caused a short circuit, plunging the room into darkness. He seized the chance to sneak out quietly, leaving the police trapped. Before leaving, his classmate gave him a sign of encouragement, ultimately helping him evade the police pursuit. After escaping the building, Nanyi faced police cars approaching from both directions. He jumped directly onto the bridge, finally escaping the police. Then, enduring his pain, he sent Hyun-seo's location to his brother and sister before losing consciousness. After Nanju saw Nanyi leave, he successfully rested by the bridge that night, hiding from the patrol members. He recharged his phone, which now had Hyun-seo's location. He was the first to set out to save Hyun-seo. After a long journey, Nanju arrived at Yuanzi Bridge. Not long after walking in, he encountered the monster. As he tried to draw his bow and arrow, the fast monster struck, sending him falling into a narrow, deep pit. Fortunately, the pit was too small for the huge monster to reach Nanju. Nanju, having passed out, was safe for now. On the other side, Adao also knew Hyun-seo's location. But how could he explain to the doctor? The doctor wouldn't listen, claiming the virus had reached Adu's head and demanding immediate head surgery. In the end, Adao, driven by the desire to save his daughter, intercepted the staff and escaped in a car, racing towards his daughter's location. Then, Nanyi woke from his coma. With the help of a homeless uncle, they made a firecracker and hurriedly headed for Yuanji Bridge. The scene shifts back to Hyun-seo. She saw her and the boys' bodies getting weaker. Knowing they couldn't wait for rescue, she started to devise a plan. She collected usable clothes and, with all her strength, hung them on the iron net above, but despair set in. The clothes hung down, yet it was still a large gap below. She couldn't reach them by jumping up. Just as Hyun-seo was struggling, a chance appeared. The monster, having eaten and drunk its fill, came down to rest. Do you want to continue with the next part of this story, or would you like me to focus on a